In ancient China exists a mystical realm known as Peach Blossom Land. A lone fisherman found it one day centuries ago while following the Blue River, until it came to an end, disappearing behind tall mountains. He passed through a narrow opening in the mountain and there saw only the happy faces of contented people, the air and earth scented with delicate peach blossom petals. All lived in harmony and joy in this idyllic and timeless place, and knew not of the outside world of the traveler now amongst them. Welcome to yours truly, Tai Chi. And today I'm excited because we're going to be doing line 2 moving forward. And of course I have some warm-ups, some new little foot warm-ups for us today. So if you'll join me. Remember that in the last episode we did something called hoof points, okay? And that was just stretching the feet forward. And in the event that some of you missed the last episode, then we need to go over it again, okay? So there's a lot of repetition because I want to make sure all of you know exactly what we're doing. So I'm just really toe touching the floor and my heel is slightly up. I'll just turn a little bit so you can see that. And if you can't do that, if it's a little difficult, then just step forward with your foot flat. And you don't have to worry about taking big steps. You know, traditionally Tai Chi has very wide steps, but Spirit Horse doesn't. So you don't have to worry about getting out there. Really, you don't want to be more than your normal range of motion from your hips, okay, for a Spirit Horse. All right, now the next thing that we're going to learn for our foot warm-up is this. It's kind of like you're pedaling. It's a light pedaling motion, and these are actually, when they're stationary, are called inside empty stances in traditional Tai Chi. And we need those to move around to pet Spirit Horse later and to get the saddle going and that kind of thing. So that's all we're doing. Now, if that's a problem, then again, if you just want to keep your feet flat and just move your knees a little bit, just so you get some lubrication into the knees, it's perfectly fine. It's all going to be just great, okay? Now, for our next movement, that we're going to once again review the pacing box step. So we're just going to be stepping from one side to the other, okay, like so. Just stepping, and keep your body very, very relaxed. There's no set pattern, so don't worry if you're stepping back and I'm stepping forward, as long as you're doing that box step, okay? And keep your knees relaxed. People tend to lock their knees, and that just gives you knee problems later. You don't want knee problems. So keep your knees nice and flexed, keep your mind flexed, your knees flexed, and you'll be happy and you'll feel great. Okay, today's show, by the way, is dedicated to our military and to our first responders, police, emergency, and fire. So we just want to say thank you to everyone out there that is protecting us and caring for us at all times. So that you can also do that side step like so. Okay, alrighty. All right, now so the next warm-up that we're going to do is just to swing the arms. Now, we did these back in the beginning of the show, episode 1, and you'll notice I'm not trying to stretch. It's not about stretching, but I am going to try to move as lightly as I can so that my spine is rotating. That is the most important thing that you do every single day. So these are meant to be very light, not above the head. Very, very light. And you don't have to do a lot of them. I'm actually doing a few more than you really need to do for this exercise, just so you can follow along. Okay, so we're going to get ready. Oh, before we do that, let's do our neck. I don't want to forget the neck, okay? So slowly, we're just going to look to the left. And remember to keep your shoulders straight. And never move past the point of comfort. It's okay to feel a light stretching, but if you have arthritis in the neck or any other problems, or you have balance problems, or if you have some problems with vertigo, you don't want to do this very fast at all. In fact, you may need to eliminate it. So we want you to be having fun and learning Spirit Horse, but we want you to be very, very comfortable as well and safe, okay? Alrighty, so let's move into our components. We have a lot of components to learn in this episode. So stick with me, stick with Spirit Horse, so we can all fly away together. All right, so line 1, I'm going to just briefly go through line 1 so we can pick it up from there, and then we'll learn the components, and then we'll be able to do the whole thing together today. All right, so in line 1, remember, we come in and we gather this beautiful energy orb, and then we step out to the left, and then we do our actual first Spirit Horse stance, and then we lift the saddle up to the horse, we roll away from the horse, we get the energy orb, and we come back down, and we gather another energy orb. We're gathering loads of energy orbs, and they're built into the program for those of you that need to maybe get your breath or to get your balance. So they're always going to be built in, so you can always pause whenever you need. All right, so this brings us now to the beginning of line 2. I'm so excited. All right, so remember we did that kind of little bicycle pedaling thing. So we're going to bring in the left foot into that bicycle movement, okay? So for this little component we're doing right now, we're going to actually be doing this and moving the feet. So as my hands turn, as if I have this huge beach ball. As my hands turn, my feet are going with my hands. All right? Okay. We're not going to overdo it. All right, good, excellent. So that's one component. And I'm going to step my feet apart for a second to show you the next component that works off of that. So, because we're going to wind up stepping out. And when we step out, we're going to do that box step and pivot the foot out a little bit. And we're going to wind up in something called a half horse. Okay, a half horse, a half of a horse. So what's going to happen here is we're going to actually be petting Spirit Horse. So I'm going to be in that bracing stance that we learned earlier. It's that little lunge, and I'm going to be doing this. It's like you could think of this as lightly buttering a piece of bread or something like that. So that's all that is. And traditionally the Chinese would call this combing the wild horse's mane. We're calling it petting or soothing Spirit Horse. And then we wind up, we have to bring the foot in, and we're going to wind up back here, and then we're going to step out again, and we're going to go to the opposite side, which I'll be facing the other way. So I'm on the other side now. It doesn't matter left or right, because we're only doing the components. So this is the move. Now, if you've ever brushed anyone's hair, you know you have to come under their hair, and you get the hairbrush. You know, if you have a pet, then you're brushing the hair. So it's a very gentle movement, and then we're going to do the same thing. So we're back into this kind of back and forth rolling, okay? That's that component. Now we have another component, and I'm showing you all of these facing front. We are actually going to be moving around later, but for now, we'll just face front, and we won't worry about whether I'm going left or you're going left. That doesn't matter for this minute. All right, so the next move that we're going to do, and again, we're going to have to be out in that sort of small horse stance, and we're going to have to pivot. Doesn't matter left or right, just pivot to one side, doesn't matter. And this is where we actually get to feed Spirit Horse a lump of sugar. So here we go. So what I'm doing here, if you can see from the front, my hand is out like if you've ever fed a horse. You know you have to sort of come up under the horse with whatever you're feeding it. And that's what we're doing. So we're going to feed Spirit Horse this lump of sugar. And then what's going to happen is, in order to make the next move, because we have to feed the other Spirit Horse on the other side, we're going to be doing this. And then we're going to come up over here and do it on that side. Okay? So we're going to be doing this. So for now, left, feed Spirit Horse the sugar, pull down, and right, I'm to my right, pull down. So we'll do it again, and pull down, and pull down. Okay, now the other component is one that you sort of already know. In the first line, we did this framing out motion, correct? So we're just going to make that a little bit bigger by doing this. So we're going to be starting here, and we're going to be balancing for a minute, and then we're going to step back. But this frame is just going to get bigger. So instead of it being here like I'm framing a photo, it's going to be a big frame, like a big mural. And then we're going to be balancing, and then we're going to step back. So pretty much everything we do to one side in Spirit Horse, we do to the other. And then we're going to have our energy orb again. And those are all the components for line 2. Okay, so I want to just tell you a little health tip about practicing Tai Chi, and that is that Tai Chi helps you to expand your lungs, and so it helps for lung development. It helps to improve the health of people suffering from asthma and other pulmonary problems without taxing them, and that's very, very important. To be able to make yourself healthy without taxing your body if you're dealing with a health problem. Okay, alrighty. So, are we ready to go for line 2? Now let's pick up line 1. We'll come in, we'll have our first energy orb. We'll come into our first Spirit Horse stance. I've stepped to the left, to the west. And now I'm moving to the west. I'm holding up the saddle. I'm rolling back away from the horse. And I'm coming back to the front with my next energy orb. And now I'm back into the Spirit Horse stance. And I'm rolling over here. This is to the east, actually. Rolling away from Spirit Horse. Getting the energy orb coming down. We're back into the Spirit Horse stance, and we're back into our energy orb. Now here we go. Here's the first place where our hands are going to turn over. We're just going to take that little box step back. Here's our first frame out, where Spirit Horse spreads his wings to fly, and we step back, and we have the second frame out. So everything is bilateral, okay? And then we're going to step back up, get that energy orb. And now here comes the first lump of sugar for Spirit Horse. And then we're going to pull down, and I'm going to turn a little bit, because I'm actually going to feed Spirit Horse the lump of sugar here, so you can see what I'm doing. And then I come into that first holding the saddle. So technically I'm facing this way, holding the saddle like I showed you. I'm going to step out and pivot my foot, and I'm going to soothe Spirit Horse, and then I'm going to hold the saddle. Okay? And that's going to end that line. Okay? So here we go. So let's take line 2, the beginning. Let's just take the beginning of line 2 and go through to the end very slowly. So we are here. We have our large frame where Spirit Horse is spreading his wings. Okay, feeding the sugar lump, coming down, feeding the sugar lump and holding the saddle, coming forward, soothing Spirit Horse. Here we go. and that's going to end us here. So I don't have to have the cameras changed. We're going to pick that up next time. Okay, so what I'd like to remind everyone is something that was said by Lao Tzu, who was a Chinese philosopher thousands of years ago. And what he said was, I look out from a very small space, but I never regard what is too small as being too small, or what is great as being too large, because the wise man always knows that there are ultimately no limits. And that really says it all for Spirit Horse. Spirit Horse is a very small little program, but it allows you to expand your vistas and to look out from a smaller space into something much wider and beyond. So this is Kadi. I want to thank you again for watching yours truly, Tai Chi, and joining me here. And we'll join you next time to continue work on line 2. Remember that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. Take care now. Bye-bye.